This is the Big Sur. The Santa Lucia Mountains are behind me. There's no place on earth quite like this, for in the sea, 180 feet below these marine terraces, nephrite jade may be found. I began diving for jade here 45 years ago, when I was in my early 20s. I soon caught jade fever, and it changed my life forever. I was drawn to the shapes and forms of the sea-worn jade, the raised and depressed areas, which I call muscle lines, and the ridge lines, which are formed by sand pelting and wearing the jade from different directions. For the most part, I want to keep the integrity of the original sea-worn shape. You could say my master sculpting instructor is Father Neptune himself. Nephrite jade is the toughest, not hardest, of all stones. It cannot be chipped, but must be sawed or ground with special tools. It is not as hard as diamond or quartz, therefore is worn by continual sand abrasion, whether under the sea or in mountain streams. The cutting tools used to shape it are made of diamond-impregnated metal, carborundum stone, and silicon carbide sandpaper. Water is used when cutting, grinding, or drilling because it keeps the cutting tools cool and prevents the jade from burning and turning white. It also dampens the dust so you don't breathe it. On larger sculptures, I paint the surface with red oxide paint, then grind or sand it away, assuring that every surface is completely covered. Once the stone is roughly shaped and smooth, the process involves 6 grades of sanding, from 36 grit to 1000 grit, each step finer until a final polish with Lindy A or chromium oxide. Dedication and patience is a prerequisite. I found this piece last week. There's something about it, its shape, its feel. I've spent hours just looking at it, turning it over and over in my hand. I'm intrigued by the primitive feel. It's as if it is an ancient tool. It hasn't much fracture at the edges. Could be used as a tool or a weapon. I spray the stone with red oxide paint so I can trace my design. I'm going to trace a line here, and that'll be my cutting line, so that this will have on this side will have more of an axe-like shape. See where I've drawn that line? That's all going to be cut out in there, and I'm going to come around on a line right along the edge like that and cut it in to keep the shape of the back of the stone while I'm cutting in on the front of it. Now I'll get translucency hopefully through that section. Let's see how I'm grinding into the jade here. Well, with that section knocked out, I want to redefine my problem here. In other words, I've got to maintain this line along here for our axe shape as clean as possible, and then start cutting down into this edge to get the translucency and keep the far edge straight and maybe even undercut it a little bit. Been using various tools to grind this out, using a round tool like this to get in there to follow that shape contour at the bottom. Eventually I'm going to have to start using doing some hand work on it, using some hand grinders to get in there and get it smooth. There's no tool that's going to smooth it out the way I want it to be. I'm using a caliper on this now as I check the thickness. Trying to get as thin as possible without going through. What I'm down to about 6 to 9.
on this caliper, which is like here to here, and I'm going to try to get down to 3. So 6 to 9 is about in here, and I'm going to try to go down to this thickness. The final polish with chrome oxide. Well, here's the finished sculpture, and it fits nicely in the thumb and feels good, and I'm very pleased with it.
Each piece is a study in concentration, a meditation, a going within, is a deep connection with self as well as with nature. Our connection to stone is important to our reverence for the earth and what is on it, as is our connection to all forms of being. In the days, weeks, or months a given sculpture may take, one becomes one with a stone, reaches that timeless, eternal state. This piece is called the Big Sur Meditation Stone. A horizon of blue bluffs drop into the Pacific Ocean. The sensuous lines become the hills of the Santa Lucias. I had a dream of a jade canoe. When I awoke, I drew a picture of it. I made a plaster model of it and waited for the stone. When the stone came to me, I carved it. On this piece, I wanted to keep the outside shape of the original sea-worn stone. I don't know where my curiosity to probe within came from, or exactly what I wanted to do with the shape. I know I wanted to uphold the integrity of the stone.
I made this model out of plaster to get the drilling angles, because I wanted to remove certain parts of the jade, and I needed to get the right angle with the core drill, so I could set it like this. Then I'd set the jade in plaster so I could get right down on an exact angle here, just to remove certain parts of material. Even after I'd rough shaped it, I set it aside many times and said, not in this lifetime. Then I'd take it up again. I had to invent tools to get around and inside places like this, here, and here. It was mostly handwork. Then I had to go through all 7 stages from rough cut to polish.
In the Barnyard Shopping Center at the mouth of the Carmel Valley is a Japanese-style jade garden designed by Henry Yamanishi. Here are 11 of my jade stones, the largest 5,000 pounds. Don't miss the Sleeping Mermaid. Or forget to touch the touchstone in the Thunderbird bookstore. A memorial stone for my good friend Henry Ragsdale. At the Ledbetter Gallery in Carmel, I emphasized the tactile qualities of jade with poems and notations in Braille for the visually handicapped. The touchstone. Close your eyes. Feel eternity beneath your hands, in this moment, in this stone. Let yourself flow into that other dimension of perception, your touch, the shape beneath your fingers, its stillness, its warmth. Become one with the stone. Be with it. Be it. I believe jade is meant to be touched, that the sense of touch is a direct pathway to the soul. Touching, caressing the jade is like at last touching the innermost self, a primitive connection which holds one outside of time. My life takes form through my work. I feel as though I am on this earth to retrieve and sculpt jade. This is my bliss.